This week on the Unabated podcast, Captain Jack and I ring in the new year with our 2025 bold predictions and see how we fared on our 2024 predictions. It's a great show. Let's get to it.
Unabated. That's the new word, unabated.
Hello, everyone, and welcome on into the Unabated podcast. I'm Thomas Viola, and joining me to start the year off right, Mr. Unabated himself, Captain Jack Andrews. Jack, happy 2025. It is great to be back, and I'm excited for another great year ahead of us here. It was funny listening back to our New Year's episode last year. We're doing the same thing here. We're going to be talking about predictions for the year. We talked about New Year's resolutions last year, but it was very funny going back and kind of having that look back at the start of last year and where we were, what's changed, what's the same, all of that. It was very funny doing that for this podcast. I enjoyed it.
Yes, Happy New Year, Tom. I think the thing that changed the most is your hair.
Yes. Yeah, looking back, it was we have grown it out a lot. Spoiler alert, I think that is going to continue. I don't think that we're going to go further. I think that it's just this is what we're going to keep moving forward here for a while.
Okay. You know my choice. I think you should go for 1987 Bono. The long flowing black hair, streets have known where the streets have no name video from like downtown LA. Look it up on YouTube. I think that's the future Thomas Viola look.
We'll see. We'll see. I was thinking about, I was workshopping some different things. I was workshopping the facial hair for a little while, and New Year's, I just decided, you know what? Nope. Not my look, doesn't work for me. Also, that video isn't downtown LA. That's Fremont Street.
No. I still haven't found what I'm looking for.
Oh,
But
my bad.
where the streets have no name is they did a rooftop concert in downtown LA.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. I'll have to go look that up. That is one of my favorite songs. They're
Both Joshua Tree album cuts there. Yeah,
phenomenal album, man. Phenomenal album.
absolutely. One of the best.
But we're not here to talk about you two, although they were great at the Sphere. We'll say that. But we are here to talk about 2025, make some bold predictions for the year. But first, let's look back at 2024 a little bit, Jack. We had our predictions. You definitely did better than me. Yeah, you had a couple that hit. The first was a really easy one. You said we would get a record Super Bowl handle, and we did. So you banked that. That was a minus money prop.
I think it was. Yeah. But it did come true. It did.
Mhm.
I think it was like 1.4 billion or something like that they did on the Super Bowl.
Yep. Yeah. Last year was 1.2. The year before that was around 1. It's been a steady increase, which you expect to see. Not surprised there. The other one that you had that did come true, multiple rec books will close in 2024. Not
Yeah.
one that we're happy about, but one that did in fact come true as we saw a lot of consolidation. Like the market has continued to change in very interesting ways in 2024. Unfortunately, one of the ones that didn't come true was that we would get an FTC an FTC ruling on exchanges, but it sounds like we're coming up on that.
Yeah. So I let's go back to the multiple books closing.
Mhm.
I did say on the podcast last year I meant regulated books, and so like I think we might be plus positive when you consider all the books that are out there. We've got a few sweepstakes based betting now,
Mhm.
and there's definitely plenty of offshores to choose from. I don't know of a major offshore that went under in 2024, so that's good. And then, of course, yeah, the CFTC allowing sports betting on exchanges. That was my bold prediction last year. We're closer than ever.
Yeah.
I may have more to say that when I come to my predictions this year and it not be so bold. But let's get into yours though.
Yeah.
So the first one you had was that Prize Picks and Underdog will be in a serious legal battle in 2024. No, that didn't happen.
I think that
Um,
we're coming to a head on all of that in 2025, I think, but I don't think that it's going to be like a massive court case.
I think the biggest barrier here is that it's just too discombobulated of a fight,
Yeah.
and a lot of state attorneys general, do not want this fight.
Yeah.
This is not a fight they want to pick on at this point. Um, so I might have more to say on this in my predictions as well. But yeah, so okay, we're gonna grade that one as incorrect.
Mhm.
Your second one was DraftKings will enter Nevada.
I thought we were
Yeah,
getting there and we didn't.
I thought, they were making overtures, they were donating to UNLV.
They bought the
I
Nugget.
they have their association there with the Golden Nugget. Um, but no, there's no DraftKings sportsbook in Nevada. That's for certain.
Yeah, very
Okay,
very
so then
sad
your
about
other
that
one
one.
was, and this was one at the time of last year's broadcast. I was sort of like, hasn't this already happened? An ESPN branded betcast. In our little planning sheet, you did grade this as a no. I think it's just kind of like a invalid. Because we know betcasts have happened. They have not happened on ESPN,
Yeah.
but they've happened on ESPN streaming through like ESPN 8 or whatever it is.
Mm.
So we have seen betcasts related to Monday Night Football on ESPN. But I also feel like we already had that. So,
Yeah,
okay.
in the spirit of my prediction, I was thinking we would get something a la the Manning cast, but for sports betting. Like I think in the spirit of my prediction, it did not come true.
Yeah. I think Amazon's cast, because Amazon does like multiple different casts of the Thursday night games. I
Yeah.
think they are probably more conducive to a bet cast.
Hmm.
They just don't have a betting partner enough to
Yeah.
like Prime Sportsbook. There's your opportunity.
Oh
But
man, that branding is easy.
it might be too much branding. I don't
Yeah.
think Joe and Adam want Amazon to know that they exist.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I think we were a mixed bag with last year's predictions.
Hmm.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. I will say free prediction for this year. I think that we see much more of the Madden style camera angle in football broadcasts next year. I think we see much more of that all 22 style because it
Hmm.
seems like it's gaining traction a little bit. People are realizing it's a fun way to watch the game.
It is definitely gaining traction.
Yeah.
Definitely see that a lot. Although I do, for some reason, my mind is like that left to right, right to left
Yep.
type of football action. Yeah.
But it's the same thing. Like when I go to a hockey game, if I sit behind the goal, I'm feeling like I have like I love the NHL view, like
Hmm.
that NHL 95 style view. Like it's the same thing with football. You see the play develop more, and you can see more of the game. I like that.
That's true. Back when I had season tickets to the Philadelphia Flyers with my dad when I was growing up, our seats were in the second level, but right on the goal line. So like in the corner.
Oh wow.
And for years, that was always the best way for me to comprehend everything going on the ice in a hockey game was from that angle. And of course, that's not an angle you typically see on broadcasts.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, when I was a kid, we had seats in the very top, literally second to last row at Giant Stadium for Jets games in the end zone. So we were all the way up there. But that's how I grew up watching the games. And it was fun. We would freeze a lot though. But I think that we should talk about some 2025 predictions here. We don't have resolutions this year.
Hmm.
You had Rufus on your live stream earlier today, and he talked about some interesting things about how he feels like he doesn't have the goalposts right now, and
Hmm.
I feel like I'm there too. I'm still trying to figure out what my goalposts for 2025 are, because I find myself in an interesting spot, like career wise it's nice. Like I'm not looking for a job for the first time in forever. It's been 2 years here, and it's like cool. We're good. We get to work here. And for a long time in the early part of my career, it was every year. It was okay. You got to find new contract work, all that stuff. So it's nice, but it's now I got to figure out. All right, what are the goals? What are the goals I'm working towards this year? But
Well, you brought up the premium live stream we did with Rufus today, and so that's one of the benefits of premium membership at Unabated. Not to make
Mhm.
this into a commercial, but we have these premium live streams, and typically I do them solo. But today I asked Rufus to come on, and we had a really good chat about not only goalposts and not only the thought of setting goals for yourself, but then trying to avoid moving the goalposts and also celebrating the touchdowns when they occur. Don't just get to the end zone and then set the goalpost out further, which is what naturally people tend to do. And so I think that's a good thing to bring up on this episode where we're talking about the year ahead. Rufus was talking about making some of his goals, which he hasn't quite finalized yet. I was talking about making goals for myself, but also celebrating the touchdowns. I was saying I hit a weekly goal already that I had set for myself for the first week of 2025. So I plan to celebrate that. So yeah, that's a good point to bring up. And for those of you who are premium members, you can watch that episode
Yeah.
linked in our Discord.
Yeah, and on the subject of setting goals, like I have ideas of what I want to bring into 2025 and how I want to change, but I don't have concrete resolutions. And I feel like that's an important part of setting goals for yourself. It can't be something abstract. It can't be I want to get in shape this year. It can't be I want to be more diligent with my betting. It's got to be concrete. Like you need
Yes.
actual measurable goals that you can say, cool, I did this. It can't be vibes based.
Absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
I used to be part of a betting, well, I'm still part of a betting group where we get together once a month. And so annually we would all set goals. And the guy that runs the group uh, has always insisted that it has to be a concrete goal. It can't be, I'm just going to try harder. It
Hmm.
has to be, this is what the fruit of my labor will be. So,
Yeah.
yes, good idea.
Yep. And so I'm still trying to figure that out. But the good news is I don't have to try and figure out what predictions to bring into 2025 because we have already set that up. And that's going to be the rest of this episode here. We've each got a couple predictions, some maybe not milk toast, but maybe not hot, and some a little bit bolder. I'm very excited to hear. We are doing this completely blind. I don't know yours, you don't know mine. Hopefully, we
Correct.
don't have any overlap. That would be very surprising if we do, though.
I
But
doubt it.
Jack, do you want to get things started off here? You are the champion from last year.
Okay, I will start off with something that I think is a little bit contrarian. I think sweepstakes betting will be stronger, more prevalent, and have more operators by the end of 2025 than we have going into 2025. And this is a bit of a contrarian take because a lot of people are saying, and Tom, you actually said it yourself, that the states are going to push back on sweepstakes betting soon here. And really, the states are going to push sweepstakes casino, sweepstakes gambling. I think the sports betting angle is going to kind of slide under the radar for a while. Now, there are going to be plenty of cease and desist orders that come out around the country, and some of them will be honored. But I do believe that this loophole is strong enough that the attorneys general do not generally want to take this on. And I think for the most part, regulators aren't even looking at this as a huge affront. It's really the DraftKings and the FanDuels that are being offended by this. And the real reason they're offended is because the sweepstakes age is 18. So previously, only DFS had access to this 18 to 21-year-old kind of window where you kind of prime them up for sports betting. Well, now these guys come in and they've got the 18 to 21 crowd. And, DraftKings and FanDuel see this as something that could be a real detriment to them. So I think sweepstakes is still growing in 2025.
I've got
Go ahead.
Fliff shuts down
Oh, wow.
2025.
So we are opposites here.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I don't think mine necessarily precludes yours being true. Um, I
True.
mean, I might be reading too far into the tea leaves, but the payout structure that they've implemented worries me a little bit. That being said, I don't think it's from solvency. I think it's more they're just trying to get the sharp action off of their books. And I credit to them. It's a creative way to go about thinking about that, but I think that it's still a cause for concern. And I think the bigger cause for concern is this could be the year if one of these states that's not a gambling state steps up and says, hey, you know what? You're not paying enough in taxes. We're not regulating you enough. Here's the cease and desist letter. If that happens in California, Texas, and Florida, well, not Florida, but California, Texas, and maybe one other big state, are they still in business?
Yeah, I mean, California's the big one. I
Yeah.
mean, they could lose 49 states, and if they still have California, they'd still be doing fine. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think there's a lot of smart people and a lot of sharp people behind Fliff that I think just because those lines were super soft for so long, people think, oh, they don't know what they're doing. I think they're crazy like a fox. They did know what they're doing and they do know what they're doing. And yes, there's a lot of slow pays going on right now, but I think that's also a product of basically them culling out all the sharp accounts
Hmm.
at once, which is creating this tidal wave of withdrawals. I don't think it's a cash
Yeah.
solvency issue. But
Mhm.
okay, hey, that is a very valid prediction. And you're right. They could both come true.
Yeah.
Although I really don't think sports betting sweepstakes style grows if Fliff is gone.
Mhm.
So I don't think they would both come true.
Yeah. And for the record, I hope that that doesn't come true. Like, I'm pretty sure that we know some people who work over there. Like, I absolutely do not wish that. But I just as far as some bold predictions for 2025, that's one that's one I've got there. Um, I suppose we should snake it, so I'll go second.
Sure, go ahead.
So I'm again reading into the tea leaves here with DraftKings' new subscription service that they have introduced of DK Plus. We all know what this is. This is a way to get around taxes in high tax states. I think this is the tip of the iceberg. I think it was Plus EV that tweeted it, but it might have been someone else, not the Lovig stuff. Um, Someone tweeted something about having like a 1%. Your odds on this bet are 1%, but then you're getting a 99% boost or something like just as a way to avoid the taxes on it by saying that it's a promo boost when like with the odds, things like that. I think that we get incredibly creative ways to get around taxes in 2025. I'm
Mhm.
talking Illinois, New York. Get ready to see more than just the DK Plus subscription services going out. We're going to see, I think this is where we see a new generation of promos, and they're all mostly to game taxes.
Interesting.
Mhm.
That's a good prediction. I like that. I think there's definitely other operators looking at this the same way there was when DK was going to have the winning surcharge.
Yeah.
And
Like they've been trying to experiment with these ways, and I think that 2025 is the year the gloves come off and we see other people getting into that market of tax evasion.
avoidance.
Yeah.
Avoidance is legal, evasion is illegal. So we'll
Yes.
we'll, we'll call it avoidance. Okay, I
Mhm.
like that one. Kudos to you, Tom, on that one. My second prediction is last year's bold prediction. I'm bringing it back. I'm doubling down. I think in 2025, the CFTC is going to allow some form of sports wagering via an exchange model to be under their umbrella of regulation. And we went into it last year, but just so people would know, is the CFTC overlooks exchanges and commodity exchanges and things like that. And they have long said that sports betting is not under their purview. It's not something they have control over. But they also have control over like contracts. And if you can convince them or some governing body that a sports bet is just a contract without any kind of underlying commodity, then it would fall under their regulation. Election betting is sort of along this same path. And we have seen definitely some progress in the past year from Kalshi, from Polymarket,
Mhm.
on the popularity and the market that is there for election betting.
Yeah.
Sports betting is very similar to that. So I think in 2025, this is the year that we get some form of the CFTC saying, okay, we will allow this. Now, last year I was a little bit more wide open with it. I'm just saying some form. I'm just saying, crypto.com, which doesn't fall under the CFTC, obviously. They now allow you to create futures contracts on the Super Bowl winner. That sort of thing might be just the foot in the door that gets the CFTC involved.
I was going to say during our recap, it felt like that prediction wasn't one that didn't come true. You just ran out of time.
Yeah.
So I like bringing that back for 2025. I completely agree. It feels like we're headed in this direction. There's going to be action with sweepstakes books taken this year. What it's going to look like is going to be a very, very big deal for the future of sports betting in general.
Yeah. Yeah. And, not just the sweepstakes books, but I think they are definitely pushing the conversation forward
Mhm.
because I think the ones that operate with an exchange model, which is Profit and Novig, they have done very well for themselves in gaining a mass audience where maybe Sport Trade hasn't been able to do that, even though they exist in 6 different states. It seems Profit and Novig have done a better job of appealing to a more recreational segment.
Yeah.
And I think in turn, that is kind of raising the conversation level. So people go, oh, I know this person's on Profit, this person is on Novig. So yeah, I think there's definitely been some positive progress. Hey, and the tide lifts all boats, and that's what I get whenever I talk to Alex Kane at Sport Trade about this. Is like he's actually rooting for these guys that have made the jump out of regulation into sweepstakes because it's just furthering the conversation along in the long run.
Yeah, and I'm sure that we're going to have Jake Benziquin back on the show at some point this year to talk about how Profit's been doing because it's great to see. It's great to see someone taking this model and really trying to build on it and build that popularity that we saw start to grow with Fliff and hopefully put that into something that's more consumer friendly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Bold prediction, and I guess I go first. My bold prediction this year, there will be a state that overhauls their sports betting regulation in favor of expanding the market and not just expanding the market to more operators, because I don't think there's really a need for like more of the top tier operators, but expanding it to accommodate lower tier operators, innovative operators, people, small companies, small businesses that are just getting into sports betting. Um, I'll mention Alex Kane again. He has been in favor of this sort of regulation change. And I know he's been working at it in Pennsylvania. And the idea is that you allow a lower tier that has a scaling tax structure. So if your revenues are $1 million a year, you pay this tax structure. If they're $10 million a year, you pay this tax structure, which is much higher. And then it merges into the existing tax structure for the existing operators.
Yeah.
The, the headwinds against this are that the existing operators paid for their right to be here. They paid in marketing costs, they paid in licensing costs, and a lot of times they had to pay for skin access through existing stakeholders in the state. So they're not going to be happy with this. But I think there needs to be on that ramp up to the big boy network. There's like a tribute that gets paid as you cross that threshold. So you have to pay into all of those other operators that you're joining the big boy club with. But otherwise, you're in the lower tier. You're restricted in how much money you can make. But this gives you like a minor league of innovation in the industry, which we're severely lacking.
Yeah.
We've seen that sweepstakes betting has kind of become the minor leagues of sports betting innovation. And I think that's going to be what causes at least some legislative, regulative group in the country to say, you know what, this is how this should happen. This should be how we give it a try. And in doing so, they can invite in the sweepstakes operators, bring them into the light, get the tax money from them. And I think it's a win-win for both because now it legitimizes the sweepstakes betting in some way and also creates more tax revenue and also creates more innovative options for sports bettors. So I'm hopeful that this bold prediction, just like last year's bold prediction would be to the benefit of us all, this year's bold prediction hopefully is, that meme of the rocket ships and,
To the moon.
utopia.
Yeah. I mean, I was cracking up for a second because I thought that we were going to end up with the same bold prediction for the year.
Oh,
Fortunately, we did not. We ended up kind
okay.
of close because yours was more focused on the operation side. My bold prediction here for you, and I think it's going to come out of Massachusetts, but I'm not specifically putting that in my prediction here. We get the first state law against limiting. Like it's pie in the sky. It's a very bold prediction, but I think if anyone could do it, Massachusetts could have some sort of structure where they say, "Hey, this is the rule now, and you have to take X amount on a bet."
Yeah, I don't know that that could ever stand up to any kind of legal challenge because you're kind of you're telling a business like they're not allowed to be choosy in who they
Hmm.
take bets from. But I like Tom, I support it. I would love to see it, even if it doesn't make a any difference in how the industry operates. Just the fact that somebody went through all the process to put us in that situation, to put it in the common discussion among the public of like, hey, wait, they limit. So, yes,
Yeah.
I would support that bold prediction, and I hope it comes true as well.
I certainly do. Like my real vision for it is it's probably going to be something small where it's not actually helpful to many bettors. Like you have to take $200 or something or $500. But I think that we get some sort of step towards that here, just because it feels like the zeitgeist, especially with Massachusetts, is like, oh wait, this is the things that are going on. This isn't fair. And I think that the 2025 as a theme is going to be fairness in betting. Like whether that actually works out, how it looks, I don't know. But I think that that's the thing that people are going to be looking at because they're looking at, oh, all of the gambling problems that are coming up now, the fixed games, not that there are any, but the like player point shaving stuff, like the Jonte Porter thing, college basketball not doing unders on or college props not having unders, that stuff like that. Like it feels like this is the whole zeitgeist of where things are going right now.
Hmm. I don't disagree. I
Mhm.
think that's, and I think we'd be better off, even if other states don't copy it, even if the operators find some loophole around it right away. At
Mhm.
least they know that somebody knows their dirty secret of
Yeah.
how they operate.
Yeah, like I don't expect it to be a panacea. I expect it to be a first step.
Yeah.
And we'll see. I think like projecting out a little further, I think in the next couple of years here is where we kind of get like we'll have had the first decade of sports betting in the book of legal sports betting in the books in the next 3 years here. And it's it's gonna be the time where we start to get more reform. I think where people actually say, okay, here's how it was. Here are the tweaks that we need to make over the next 10 years. Will it all be good things? Absolutely not. But I think this is where we start to leave the Wild West and start to get more of an idea of what this is going to look like in the future.
Yeah. I don't disagree.
Yeah. And I don't mean that for 2025. I mean, like, we're going to see that. Like, I
Sure.
think that there's going to be more reform over the next several years. Who knows? Maybe it also leads to a national gambling legalization. I, I'm not putting that in my, it's certainly not happening in 2025, but I think that the landscape, we're going to see the landscape change even more over the next couple of years.
Yeah, as you know, I'm not in favor of any kind of federal oversight framework, whatever you want to call it. I'm not in favor of the Safe Bet Act. I'm not in favor of the GRIT Act, which takes the 0.25% handle tax and applies it to responsible gaming initiatives. I'm in favor of just eliminating that altogether. Get out of the way, federal government.
Yeah.
Uh, Betting, gambling has always been a state commerce issue and allow it to continue to be that. Don't get in the way. I understand that, yes, there is some good that can come from federal regulation, especially with some of these states are just so kind of like backwards. Let the states be backwards. If you want good sports betting, maybe you have to travel to a different state. This isn't like something that needs to be the same in every state across the country. In fact, that's what makes it kind of exciting
Yeah.
and interesting is that we have different states and different rules and different regulations. So
It's the
yeah,
funny
but
quirks. It's the funny quirks that come along with being a country of 50 individual governments.
right, right, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Jack, I mean, that's going to do it for us as far as predictions go here. I do have one final question for you, though. If you, we're doing this show next year, January 7th, 2026. What is the one thing that you want to look back on and be able to say that you like, what will be the thing that you can look back on and say this year was a success,
Personally or for the industry?
personally?
You caught me off guard with this one, Tom.
I know.
Personally, I think it's if I take more time off in 2025. I tend to work 24/7 and I need to take more time off because I get burnt out at certain points of the year. In fact, if you go back to last year's New Year's episode, I said that one of the resolutions was to take time off, be less burned out. I think I made minimal progress there, but I need to make more progress, uh, especially in the summertime. I get to the end of the summer and I feel like, I missed this summer. I was too busy chasing EV all over the place
Yeah.
because September through December is nonstop and there are three different sports happening every single day. So you need to be able to get into the grind here from September to about February. And then you need to find time to take more breaks in the June through August months.
Yeah, I completely agree with that because I mean, once September hits, the rest of the year is just a blink and it's gone in this industry. You
Yes.
it goes by so fast and your head's down the whole time. But yeah, it is those summer months. One of my resolutions last year, and I definitely was able to keep to it. I wanted to take some more time. I wanted to spend some more time with family and things like that. And I definitely got to do that. My parents are actually moving here to Las Vegas, so that's been fun. I feel like I've seen them every other week since the start of November, which is actually true at this point. So I've been happy about that. But I wish you success on continuing with that resolution as well. And I think that's it's a good mindset for everybody if you're listening. Think about that. What is the thing that you want to look back on at the end of this year and say, okay, this is what made the year a success. This is the if I accomplished this, this was a success. Have something like that. Have some goal on the board where you can say that and be able to look back on it because it's a helpful thing if you think about it now. Then at the end of the year, when you're like, oh my God, I wasted a whole year, you can look back and be like, well, no, I got that done and that's what I wanted.
What's yours?
That's a great question, Jack. Um, I think that I'm gonna look back at the end of this year and I'm gonna say it was this is where you can get a little more general, a little less concrete with it. I want to be much much sharper than I am now. Like I want this to be the year. I feel like 2024 was a really great year for me in terms of being more disciplined, being more diligent, and like being better at harnessing the power of the stuff that we have at Unabated. I think this is the year that now I need to start getting out there more and finding some of my own stuff and learning like second order thinking, applying more things, applying the Unabated tools to more things, and just really being able to make more progress on my own as a gambler.
Good one.
Yeah. So I think that's my abstract concept to say this was a successful year. So we'll have to see what happens and we'll have to see where we stand when we are doing this same episode again next year, Jack.
Sounds good. I look forward to it.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. As always, we will be back next week. John Rodabaugh is going to complete our series talking to all of our NBA guys here. Jack, you are going to be on vacation in Key West. You are going to have enjoy it and live it up. It's going to be a fun time for you, I'm sure. Enjoy that vacation, well earned. And we will see you guys next week. Good luck, everybody. Let's cash some tickets and have a great 2025.